Arousal and Performance Psychology Assignment 2 by Elliot Mills. Definitions. The state of readiness and motivation is related to the intensity and direction of behavior. The way of which we behave affects our motivation. Arousal and performance is the way our behavior affects our performance in the game and is defined by each situation that can occur. Arousal can be affected by many different situations that occur when playing in a game. The first one is dependent on the competition and the importance of the game. So, for example, if you're representing your country in a World Cup, your arousal levels will be higher because you need to win the game, whereas playing in a pre-season friendly will mean you are less motivated and less aroused because there is less of a prize at the end of the game. Crowd capacity can also be an effect on the athlete because if there is a big crowd, then you will want to perform better in order to impress the crowd. So if there is a smaller crowd or not at all, then there are less people to impress, and you can see this in FA Cup games with smaller teams. Where games are televised, the players tend to play better because of the motivation of more people watching them, so your arousal levels will be getting towards optimum level when there is a bigger crowd. Depending on the skill involved when playing the sport can affect your arousal levels, and then this could implement how you do the skill. So something easy such as a pass will need to be minimal arousal level because it is simple skill to do within football. But when you have a more difficult skill to do, for example a free kick outside the box, which is a more difficult skill, your arousal levels will increase because if you score it will look good and you need to be more motivated to take the kick. The consequence of what you're about to do can increase your arousal levels. For example, Johnny Wilkinson's unfavoured foot with a drop goal from an unpractised distance to win England the World Cup have given him a massive levels of arousal and would have got him to optimum arousal levels in order for him to be successful. Hole's drive theory. The higher your arousal levels means the better you are able to perform according to the graph that you can see. Some negatives to this graph is it doesn't take each sport into account and its skill into consideration. For example, if you are doing a simple pass, you don't need a lot of arousal, otherwise you may overhit it, or in a penalty, you could sky the penalty, like a lot of England players have done, because they are over aroused. The advantage to this are in sports such as weightlifting, which means that if you are getting more aroused, you'll get stronger, so it means you'll be able to lift a lot more weight, which you can see in the Hole's drive theory. This will affect novice and elite because elites are able to train a lot more so they can cope with higher levels of arousal because it comes second nature to the elite player, whereas non-elite athletes will be more likely to buckle under the pressure, have poor consequences to over-arousal. Elite athletes should also have more things to get them aroused compared to non. For example, they have the media showing them. For example, Bolt has a big media following, so he will become more aroused by this, and according to Hole's drive theory, he should perform better when in a bigger competition and more media backing. Inverted U theory. The main point to this graph shows that there is a maximum point in your arousal levels, and if you are too over-aroused, you will see a dip in your performance, as well as it being over-aroused. Within this theory, you can see that there is a cap on how well you can perform when you are at certain points and show a point of optimum arousal of a good performance as well as being aroused. This can be dependent on the situation you are in and the skill you have to perform. An example that you could see in sport could be a quarterback getting every pass right so he becomes over-aroused and then start to become complacent because he thinks he can do it with his eyes shut. An example of low arousal dip could be you are playing football and you have been dominating possession to your optimal arousal, then the opposition scores a lucky goal and your arousal levels will dip. You can see the comparisons of different sports on the graph, and the first on is darts, which requires a high concentration level, so you will not need to be aroused for long periods of time, because it is a short concentration burst, and if you were to be aroused you could miss the target. Football doesn't require a 90 minutes of concentration, but you will still need to have high levels of arousal in order to have a high performance level for over 90 minutes. Depending on the skill you have to do as well can depend whereabouts on the graph they are, and you can put these into 3 different categories. The first one, fine skills. This requires high levels of concentration, so this will be the same line as darts. Then there is gross levels and motor skills. They are both on the right because of the amount of time needed helps to be over aroused. Elite athletes are able to get more aroused because they are used to the skill and can cope with the high levels of arousal and still perform at a high level, so this could be due to higher media presence or more people watching. They can still perform high levels compared to the non-elite, who can perform at high levels with higher arousal because they buckle under pressure and they aren't as comfortable with the skill as elites are. The catastrophe theory is a more detailed view of the inverted U-graph, because the theory suggests that you don't slowly slump into a poor performance, whereas this theory believes that it is more sudden and quick, and you can also quickly turn it back around. You can see that this happens in a real sport in situations that Usain Bolt at the World Championships can suddenly lose all the training and preparation by becoming too aroused and false starting in the race due to what was on the line, from hot prospect rival next to him being Johan Blake and the weather conditions believing the wind was in their favour, so he thought it was easier, and packed stadium which raises the arousal levels. So this graph shows that you can easily go back if you control your arousal levels so you can get back to optimum arousal levels. Definitions for stress. Where an individual perceives a threat and responds with psychological and physiological changes within demons, threats or fears outweigh capabilities or benefits. The impact on your mental and physical well-being and how you react to the situations you are put in. There are 2 different types of stress, and they are eustress and de-stress. They are split because of the positives and negatives it has on you. First, eustress. This is the good form of stress that can help you in certain situations. This will give you a feeling of fulfillment. This can help you by increasing your skill level, so you are playing at a higher level, which will concern you, but you will be playing a lot better because you are playing at a high standard, so this is a good stress. Then de-stress, which is opposite to eustress, so it has a bad form of stress. It can cause you extreme anxiety and nervousness. For example, taking a penalty in the World Cup final because of the implications of the kick. You will be very nervous about it. There are 2 responses towards the stress, and they are sympathetic response and parasympathetic response. The first one I will talk about is sympathetic response. You will see a number of signs in this reaction. So the pupils dilate so you can take in more light to boost your vision. Then your heart rate will increase so you are able to get more blood to the limbs and you are ready to react to a situation. Then your breathing rate increases for the same reason, to get oxygen into the blood. Your digestion will stop because when you are running you do not need to be eating, which also means you have a slow metabolism. Parasympathetic response you'll see the following reaction. Pupils will constrict so you can't see as much, almost tunnel vision. Your heart rate decreases because your body is frozen and doesn't want to move, and your digestion will resume and your metabolism will increase. Different things that can cause stress are as follows. The first one is external. These can be the things within our surroundings and relating to sport. It could be your opponent that is better than you and you know they are going to beat you, so you have the stress. Or you can get stress from the crowd that you are playing bad and the crowd get on your back, and so this causes you stress. The next one is internal. These are the things that happen in your head, so the past events or previous injuries. So for example, if you've broken your leg before, you will refrain from going in for big tackles again because you don't want to break your leg again. Personal factors. So this is not in sport, but you could play on your mind during sport. For example, addictions or money problems. For example, Wayne Rooney had a gambling addiction and he started to play poorly because this was playing on his mind during the games and causing stress to him. Occupational. These are the stresses that are related to your job. So if you are not getting satisfaction from your job, this will cause you stress and you want to get a better job satisfaction. Sporting stresses could be due to the relationship between you and your manager. For example, feel like he is doing it wrong and you speak up, but you get punished, so you stay quiet all the time now and not enjoying playing under the manager. Anxiety. A result of an interaction between the individual and the environment and an emotional response to the demands placed upon the individual by the environment. Different types of anxiety. State anxiety. This is temporary mood state which changes in an emotional response due to different situations. So if you are in a World Cup final, you will be happy and hyped up for the game, but if you misplace a pass then the mood will change and you will be wary of doing it again. Trait anxiety. This is your behavioural reaction, so if you feel threatened, even if you are not in a threatening situation, this is the sign of high levels of anxiety. If you are playing in a game that has not significant meaning, so friendly, but you are still experiencing anxiety because you are nervous. Somatic anxiety. What you see happens within a particular situation and how you react. The physiological changes you will have could be an increased heart rate, increased breathing rate, sweating and muscle tension. An athlete's perception will make them feel worse. For example, if you feel you are over sweating, it will make you nervous or conscious before a game and can affect your confidence. Behavioural response is your own reaction to experiencing stress in different situations. For example, cognitive stress. You could be indecisive, so you can't decide what to do. So you may be in front of goal but have a player to the side of you and you do not know whether to pass or shoot, and you end up being tackled because of the time on the ball. You could also have negative thoughts, so thinking the worst of a situation. So if you're just about to take a penalty and think you're going to miss it, you probably will. Somatic. You will have an increased heart rate because you think you will have to react in a way that you have to be running, so you get ready and blood is getting to the working muscles. Behavioural. You will be playing safe because you think you cannot pull off the hard passes, so you will stick to short sharp passes so you do not look bad. Low arousal is a small attention span because you are not really concentrating on anything and you do not have anything to focus on. Broad attention span would be due to concentration, so if you have something to focus on, your attention span will be greater. Optimal arousal, which will give you a broad attention span, could happen with a quarterback when they are at optimum level, so this means they can see a lot more than NFL, and in NFL this means they can see all the runs that are happening. But if they are having a poor game and you have low arousal, they will have tunnel vision and struggle to concentrate on more than one runner.